Hello and welcome, dear students. Today we will talk about the nervous system. We will discuss what is the nervous system made up of and what is the job of the nervous system and what are our sense organs, as well as how our nervous system works, as well as the synapses. Furthermore, we will discuss reacting with thinking and the reflex arc, as well as the knee jerk reflex action and the examples of response. First of all, what is the nervous system made of? The nervous system is made of brain and the spinal cord and their nerves, or what we call neurons, the central nervous system, or the CNS for short. It's made up of the brain and spinal cord. As in this diagram, we see the brain in the upper side and the spinal cord in the middle side. What is the job of the nervous system? Our survival depends on us being sensitive to our surroundings. We need to be able to detect any change and be able to respond to them. However, what are our sense organs? These sense organs are the eye, which we see with, and the ear, which we hear with, the nose, which we smell with, and the tongue, which we taste with, and the skin, which we feel with. So, in brief, eyes sense the light, ears sense the sound and balance, the nose sense the smell, tongue sense the taste, skin sense the pressure, pain, and temperature. How does our nervous system works? Our sense organs contain a special receptors cells which detect change in our surrounding, which the change in our surrounding can be easily called stimulus. The receptor cell will change the stimulus into an electric impulse, which is passed along the nervous cell. So the message will usually go to the brain, which will then process it. Then the brain sends a message along the nerve to an effector organ, usually a muscle or gland. Then the effector organ will then give a response. Exempli gratia, a muscle will move as a response, or a gland will produce a hormone. The stimulus. Then receptor, which send a signal to sensory neuron. Then the sensory neuron collects the signal and send it into the central nervous system. The central nervous system send a signal to the motor neuron. Then the motor neuron affect the effector, send the effector into the response organ, which we described as muscle or gland. So, the synapse. When a nerve ending meet up with another nerve ending, we get a microscope space. This space is called synapse. The electrical message traveling along the nerve has to cross the synapse as a chemical message. As we see in this diagram, here is a nerve and here another nerve or another receptor, like a muscle cell. So when chemical or neurotransmitter reaches the other nerve ending, it causes an electric impulse to travel along the next nerve cell. Reacting without thinking. Sometimes a stimulus requires an immediate response. This is called a reflex action. Reflex action is an involuntary response, and we do it without thinking. These automatic responses do not have to be learned. They can be very important in preventing injury to ourselves. So, the reflex arc. The nerve pathway taken in a reflex action is called a reflex arc. So, the nerve message goes to the spinal cord, then a message passes from the spinal cord directly into an effector to give an immediate response. So, the reflex arc, as we see in the diagram, starts with the receptor in our finger, for example. Then the sensory nerve collects the signal and take it into the spinal cord. The spinal cord determine the immediate response and send it into the muscle, which moves, or a gland which secretes a hormone. The knee jerk reflex action. Here, when we hit the knee jerk with a hammer, an immediate movement take place without thinking. So, sometimes called a relay or connector neuron. So, another reflex action, when we touch a heat source, the sensory neuron sends a signal into the spinal cord via the dorsal root and then into the interneuron in a spinal cord. Then the spinal cord sends a signal into a motor neuron, then to the muscle. Example of responses. Responses are divided into voluntary action like eating a cake, riding a bicycle, walking, playing the piano, coming to the school, and involuntary action like heartbeat, like breathing, like blinking, like removing hand from hot object, choking. Here we come to the end of our lesson today. Thank you and goodbye till we meet again. Bye bye.